All right, Nate, it's good to see you, man. How are you?
I'm perfect. I'm doing
Yeah.
really well. Yeah. Um,
How is lockdown treating you? How are you handling it? How are you holding up?
Lockdown, man, it's different every day.
Yeah.
Like it's like finding routines that work for you and then certain days are just not the same, so you're just switching it up. So there's nothing like linear to what this is going to look like. I think I'm still trying to figure it out every single day.
How long have you been in lockdown, under lockdown in Texas?
Man,
You're in
it's
Austin, right?
yeah, in Austin. Yeah, it's been a little over a month now. It might be a month
Oh,
or a little
really?
over a month. Yeah.
Oh, you can't even keep up with time anymore. Mm.
Honestly, everything is one day. Like it feels like I'm having one long ass day.
One day
Like
at a
I'm like
time. One day at a time.
one day at a time. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
we're all right there with you, man.
yeah,
It's one of those situations where we are all in it together. You know, it's
yeah.
the first global pandemic of our lifetime.
Oh yeah, oh
You
yeah.
know, I think collectively as a world, we're going through an existential crisis, all
Right,
of us. And it's very interesting to see how different people handle it based on their
right.
geography and knowing most importantly that it's an equal opportunity virus, regardless of whether you're in America or in Africa, the risk factors are equal.
Right,
You're not
right.
protected by anything, whether it's advanced healthcare systems. The myth of the advanced healthcare system has been busted
Yeah.
in many ways. But yeah, so you're at home for almost a month now. Give or take. What have you been doing? Have you been working on something? Have you been working at home? You've been
Yeah,
working on any new projects? I think the last time we talked, you had like a community mental health project that you were working on, and we did talk about that. But I'm sure this in itself, there's some mental health dimensions to us staying at home
right.
for this long, and maybe we can get into that conversation. But let me start off by asking you to tell us some of the new things that you've been working on, because I know you've been quite busy.
Yeah, since the last time we talked, I was doing a press run and a tour with my last film called Grown Up in America, that series. So I've been touring with the State of Mind episode, kind of hosting different mental health sessions for people that are in communities like me and you, and providing access and resources and education and bringing in experts. So it was a lot of that and utilizing film as a tool to reach communities. So I did that all last year. And then tail end of last year, I was just kind of thinking about my new contributions to my community, what I want to see happen this year. And it was about building our way forward from ground zero, which leads me to like my newest project,
Mm.
which is an East African coffee home delivery company and podcast service. So yes,
Ground zero.
ground zero, literally where
Interesting.
we're all at.
How appropriate this. I mean, it feels that post COVID will be ground zero for everybody. So
Exactly, exactly.
it feels like you saw this coming.
I know, right? That's how I know it's just a combination of many things. But like yeah, it's undescribable to be able to look at what this was, what this idea was last year, and then where we're at right now and how it's birthed within the pandemic.
Mm.
So I'm getting ready to I've launched the project already. So, and we have podcasts out. We're selling coffee, we're delivering to people's homes, at this moment to kind of help people stay motivated in quarantine, as well as provide great storytelling with where the coffee comes from, which is East Africa. So it's been a lot of I'm still doing a lot of narrative shaping within the work that I'm doing. It's just taking a different shape,
Why
through.
coffee?
That's a good question. So coffee is a huge staple. I mean, just within African culture, especially within Ethiopia. Ethiopia is known as the origin of coffee. So I wanted to do something very special that celebrates the origin and paying homage to the country that my family comes from. So that was one aspect. It's the origin. And then the other thing is it's an economical tool. It's a way that we can be able to build sustainable business around our art and our creative endeavors. So all the community-based initiatives that I'm doing is now fueled through different enterprises, such as coffee. And then the third thing is it's a social vehicle. I always want to be able to be a person that has my ear to my community. And so I want to be able to understand the heartbeats and the mindsets of what's taking place with people. So I think coffee integrates a lot of those things, because if you look at how coffee is integrated within the fabric of who we are as a community, we use it for our entrepreneurial endeavors, our creative initiatives, our romantic interests, networking, social environments. Coffee is embedded into everything. So I wanted to tap into a product, a treasure, a cultural treasure that can be able to be used in many different formats to share messages of education, access, and resources.
Now, one of my daily routines is when I leave home in the morning, I pass a coffee shop and, grab a cup of coffee. How would you advise me to continue with that routine at home around coffee? Because you said it's very integral to many of our lives, including myself.
Yeah.
We've developed these routines, daily routines. What do we do now that we're under lockdown? How do we continue our relationship with this very delicious beverage?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's causing us to dive a little deeper into, what we can possibly do and understand with coffee now. Instead of going through drive-throughs I think, time. We live in the Western world, so I think a lot of things are come and go, and we never really get a chance to appreciate the little things. So I think coffee is something that is meant to be appreciated and understood, especially from where it comes from. There's a rich history that comes with coffee. There is rich traditions. There are ways that people make coffee that's very unique to culture and life. So I think now it's causing us to be able to at least, slow down and be able to appreciate the little things and that take us a long way. And I think coffee is a representation of that. So now we're in a place where we can have opportunities to have coffee delivered to us. You could do it through Ground Zero or other coffee companies, and you can make your own coffee. You can look at ways. So you're developing new skill sets. You're developing new educational interests and knowledge. You're just really, it's about that. It's about how you're approaching it.
The coffee in the background. Can we see the label?
Oh yeah, right over here.
Top of it?
This is our coffee, Ground Zero. This is our first coffee package. It's still going through many different phases of iteration, but yeah, it's Ground Zero coffee. It says start from Ground Zero. And then this is the Ethiopian Natural. It's from
is that Arabica coffee?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah,
so it's premium coffee.
Love it. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, so it's the podcast. Explain to us how the podcast works.
So the podcast is about providing tips and tools for people within our community on ways that they can approach life differently and better their lives. We're dealing with a pandemic right now, and it's hitting many people all across the world. So right now we're in a position where we have to learn a lot and take the time to really intake what we need to in order so that when we do start from Ground Zero, when the pandemic is over, we can become better versions of ourselves than how we came into it. So right now the podcast serves all of our communities. It's online and it's free. So when you're buying coffee, you're fueling a lot of our community-based initiatives, which is the podcast. So we talk about everything from mental health to financial literacy, investment, marketing, branding, and owning your art, health and wellness. There is a multitude of things that we can all learn that can really empower our communities. And I like to always say that it's important that we have an ear to the community. And when I say ear, EAR, education, access, and resources. And I think, and what I've seen, I've been blessed with the opportunity to travel across Africa, Europe, and America, and I've seen many disparities of all kinds. And one thing that I've seen that separates, low economic areas to those that are, well off are those three things: education, access, and resources. And I believe in human potential. I believe that if we can provide those three things, that it will at least provide an individual with an opportunity to really be successful and reach their potential. So I don't believe that, I believe that literally, where you are born should not determine how far you go in life.
Are you envisioning us consuming, enjoying that coffee? Because I know traditionally in Ethiopia, people, I was in Ethiopia last year, and I was part of these Buna ceremonies.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you when you get a chance to explain to our listeners, but people are brewing coffee. We sit down, we enjoy coffee in little small cups. I actually do have one of those little tiny cups. And then we would have conversations, chats. So are you envisioning as people who are going to be consuming that coffee, sitting down, enjoying the coffee and listening to the podcast in the process?
Yeah, most definitely. So the podcast will have many unique different types of episodes that can touch on tradition, culture, and even like coffee history. So, as you're having your ground zero coffee and you're sitting and you're enjoying maybe the bunna ceremony, which is very predominant within Eritrean and Ethiopian culture, you can be able to really dive into deeper understandings of like where this coffee comes from, how do you make it, what's the importance of making it, what does it symbolize, and it's a way you can bring community together. When we go to Africa, we see people gather together during all parts of the day, and to sit down as a family and as a community of friends to talk about life, to spend time with one another. Right now, all across the world, we are in a predicament where we just have the time to do things like that. So I think that's one of the importance of why Ground Zero was birthed during this pandemic.
Right.
It's an opportunity for us to kind of go back to the very beginning, our beginning, Ground Zero.
I guess within each crisis, there's an opportunity, there's a silver lining. And
there is.
So when are you launching officially?
Yeah, so the coffee brand and podcast is officially launched. It was launched last week. And now we've just kind of been, sharing a lot about the podcast, and people have been buying coffee, and it's been exciting to kind of see that happening. And so it's a great time right now.
One of the things that has been disrupted, the supply chains of all these different products, whether it's groceries, all types of merchandise. How are you able to supply your coffee during this pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. So, I went in launching this company with a lot of uncertainty because of a lot of things that you just mentioned. A lot of stores are closing down and so forth. So, I have great partners, and I've created a great relationship. So my distribution company that I've been kind of talking with right now, coffee purchasing, from what they were telling me right now, is up 5%. And so what's happening is exports are still coming in from what we do know, and we still have a great amount of supply of coffee. And it's tough even within the continent because I have family there, and people aren't at a luxury to be able to stay home, if you know what I mean, back home. People are still working, people are still out. And again, it's not the safest, but it's what people are doing. And I think we are trying to educate people as much as trying to keep things operating as best as we can. So I think there's no real answer to how everything is working right now. It's a little bit of many different things. And but I think at this point, we have been able to kind of launch successfully and see where this can go.
Now, are you specifically targeting the diaspora market, or you're kind of?
Yeah, I am actually, as well as introducing narratives to the Western world and Europe as well about Africa and our stories as well, because I think this is important. All my films have always been about narrative shaping, so that people can be able to see themselves within stories and be empowered by it. And it introduces a new light to who we are, and so it's a source of empowerment. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been still focusing on, the diaspora culture and ways that we can bridge the gap. And I think coffee is the best way to do it, seeing how it's integrated within that culture heavily.
Now, the last time we did talk, you were on, I guess, a national tour, some tour of some sort, where you were talking about mental health in the diaspora communities. What kind of mental health challenges are likely to come out of this crisis?
Wow. Yeah, I think we are still seeing it unravel before our eyes. And I just spoke with a licensed professional counselor on my podcast, the Ground Zero podcast, and that's out on our website, startfromgroundzero.com. And, I think what she said was that if there was any way to describe what we're going through, it's group trauma. It's all of us being able to go through a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, all the shock and all of the trauma. We're all going through it together. So I think we still haven't fully seen how this is unraveling. I think this is going to unravel over time. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen. But I do know one thing, we can only control what we can control. And what I want us to be able to do at this time is take what we need that is very important. That's, taking care of our health and our well-being, our mental health, getting closer to family and close ones. And that's something we do have control over. Educating ourselves on what we can invest in ourselves with, so that when we leave the pandemic and when things go back to the new normal, or we get to the new normal, we are better prepared, and we are at a better versions of ourselves. So I think we still haven't seen the full ramifications of it, but I can tell you that as long as we control what we can control in this moment, we'll be a lot better off.
And how, as I guess life starts going back to normal, many states in the US are talking about, I think May the 15th being kind of the date when they're looking to kind of start reopening up. President Trump, I think he just constituted a team that will help in that process of figuring out when to reopen the economy. But how can we prepare ourselves to go back to work?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, personally, I was saying it's going to be tough for me. I feel like I might take a week off just to acclimate myself to the world that I've been part of for all these years, that I have been estranged from in this last month working from home, in this bunker. What are you doing yourself to prepare yourself? I know as soon as this is done, you'll be getting in, launching your, I mean, I guess you already launched it, but you'll be on the ground running, for lack of a better term, ground zero, but you'll be on the ground running, pushing your coffee, working on your podcast. What are you doing to prepare yourself for that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we are creatures of habit, and I think everything in life revolves around programming. So when you look at even the plants, like, what it needs the sunlight, it needs water, it needs, everything in life revolves around programming. Even like human beings, we are in need of programming. So when there is a disruption within programming, it causes us to be disconnected from ourselves and each other. So I think that's what we're seeing, with globally right now. And what we can do what I've been doing personally right now is trying to keep a sense of normal as best as I can. And that requires me being able to still have my community that I need. So FaceTime, getting on videos a lot more, being able to interface with people as much as I can, going for walks, getting out in nature, creating a plan, a daily plan, so that, when I wake up, there's programming, there's a sense of normalcy, there's something concrete. And then, so at least, when this pandemic is over, I can be able to at least follow a pattern and a certain programming that I've been working on throughout the process. Right. The worst thing that can happen right now is you are just not really being able to kind of cope with it correctly. I think everyone needs a time to grieve and deserves that time. You need to kind of go through that process, because even that's productive. Grieving is productive.
Yes.
So I think, going through that process and, with your community and with people, I think that is important, so that you can stay accountable and you can kind of stay healthy and grow through this instead of just go through it.
Now, the coffee, you said earlier, you're sourcing it from Ethiopia. I think there's a whole story to that. And most times when we're buying our coffee from Starbucks or these other chains or coffee shops here, stamped on Ethiopia, we don't know the stories behind the coffee. Are you hoping that people go deeper than just enjoying the coffee and actually learning about the process in which that coffee is made, is grown and dried, the people who actually do it? Is that something that you're going to explore in your podcast?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And not even just in podcasts and film. And that was the initial plan before, the situation that we're in right now with the pandemic. I think that coffee is a representation of our connection to the continent. So I have coffee that's not just from Ethiopia, but also like Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda. It's, a selection of countries on the east side of Africa. So, our goal was to be able to, how can we use, a product like coffee, that is so rich in history, and educate people about the narratives. So through the podcast, we're going to have a lot of different educational resources and topics to talk about, identity discovery, different stories from the continent, African entrepreneurs, talk about the blueprint that they're laying, the pathways that they're paving. And then I want to go back home. That's my goal after we get free to travel. I want to go and film and get stories of farmers, everyday farmers that are doing incredible work, and understanding, where our coffee comes from, the stories that they have, showing that there is greatness from the coffee farm to the coffee cup, and through the whole process. I want to show that whole process through film and through the podcast. So I think it gives you more of a deeper understanding and acknowledging and appreciation for the things that we take every single day to work, to social gatherings, and we gather around, like there's rich history behind all of that.
Right. Now, I know that usually when people launch these type of products or endeavors or initiatives, they have big ceremonies, invite people. Have you figured out a way to do it virtually?
Yeah, actually, tomorrow I'm hosting a Habesha's Got Talent event.
No
So
way.
we're doing this. We're doing this
I
via Zoom.
want it. I want it.
All right, we got you in. So we are sold out for the Zoom room, but it'll be streaming on Facebook Live for the world. And
Wow.
so this is an opportunity to celebrate talent. Ground Zero is the producer of this amazing event. It's kind of like our launch party. So we're gathering video I just went through video content and auditions with my team, our judges, and we have an incredible group of people that are submitting videos from Ethiopia.
Where are you getting submissions from?
Oh my gosh. Well, both. Someone sent me a video from Ethiopia a couple of days ago, from New York, DC, LA, Ohio. We have 8 contestants that will be performing via Zoom, the big stage, on Friday night at 8 p.m. And then we are counting down to 3 people. The judges will judge down to 3, and the audience via Zoom will judge the winner. And we're giving away some Ground Zero coffee. We're giving away $100. We're doing what we can. Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're all here. We're all in it together. So how can we make the most out of it? And I think one is we want to celebrate the arts and the talents within African culture, because if you know anything about African culture, especially traditional, there's only like 3 things you can be in the household: doctor, lawyer, or engineer. And if you're not none of them, it's very difficult. So I want to celebrate the arts. I want to celebrate the talents of many different Habesha people all around the world that are super talented, that can sing, do poetry, rap, dance. And we're telling them to dress up their living rooms. We want to see a great staging. So now everyone is going to be dressing up their living rooms, their bedrooms, getting the best lighting, because they will be judged on that, not just their talent. But we want to see a quarantine special, so we are taking it to the next level with this, and I'm excited about Habesha's Got Talent.
I love such a great idea. Are you going to the Simon Cowell of
so I'm getting some hosting, so I guess I'm the Habesha Nick Cannon, but I have someone else that's a judge. His name is Gergish. He's an Eritrean American comedian. He is hilarious. You got to find him on social, Gergish. Okay. And then I have an R&B soul Ethiopian singer. Her name is Melat. She actually has her own day named in Austin, Melat Day. She's amazing. If you want to follow her, it's Behold Melat. And then my other friend, Hannah, she has a platform called Promote Positivity Movement on Instagram. She was a journalist. Now she's moving her own Promote Positivity brand. So those are the 3 judges. So these are incredible people, good friends of mine. We brought all of our light together so that we can be able to shine light on people that deserve that light. So it's going to be a great time.
That's pretty dope. I look forward to that. I think it's so much fun.
Yeah.
It was so nice to catch up with you, man. Good luck with the Ground Zero, and we look forward to catching up with you again. And I'm really proud of the work that you continue to do for the community, and pushing the culture and inspiring young people. Really appreciate you for that.
Yeah, and I appreciate people like you too, that are always looking out for the young and up and coming people that are putting out work. It's good to always know that there's people out there that have your back and are supporting and are willing to shine the light on the work. So it means a lot, fam.
We'll catch up soon. I can't wait to be, to see. I guess I'll be in the overflow room. Is that what it is?
The overflow room is Facebook. And so it's facebook.com/start from ground zero. Facebook.com/start from ground zero. That's the overflow room. Like the page, follow the page, and it'll be fun. Bring your family together. It's going to be a great time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Such a great moment. All right, man. Good to see you, bro. We'll catch up soon.
All right, fam.
All right. Take care, bro.
All right. You too.